Hey, with your evening story channel, I post new interesting stories every day. Subscribe and click the bell to not miss it.
Daddy, Daddy, wait! Lisa exclaimed and ran after the man through the subway station, but she could not catch up with him. As soon as he saw that the girl was following him, he immediately accelerated his steps. Lisa arrived at work that day with mixed feelings, but with the certainty that as soon as she got home, she was sure to talk about her father and mother. I don't understand. Lisa resented Vanessa. Why do you want to do this? Under no circumstances should you disturb a soul that is in heaven. Not only a great sin, it's sacrilege. I will never sign any authorization for exhumation. Let these thoughts go. This was the answer Lisa received from her mother after she told her that she had seen a man in the subway who looked painfully like her father. The girl was almost certain that it was William. A year ago, he had passed away under very strange circumstances, and the girl was very much alarmed that her mother had kept her out of the funeral arrangements. "Mother, he is not only your husband, but my father," exclaimed Lisa, when Vanessa once again asked her daughter not to interfere in the negotiations with the undertaker. "Why can't I join you in choosing a coffin for my father? This is a family matter. And when a loved one passes away, people always support each other and provide him with a decent send-off on his last journey together. Do you have to work?" The woman discouraged me. "You just graduated from college. You don't want to get fired. You ruined your career because of your father. He wouldn't have been happy about that. And neither would I." When Lisa realized it was no use talking to her mother, she stopped asking. Vanessa had chosen the most beautiful, expensive, patterned coffin for her husband's burial. It distracted the attention of those who came to see William off from the possibility of seeing the deceased. Lisa was alarmed by that, too. "Why can't you do your makeup, Mom?" she asked. "Everyone does it and we can't." "I don't understand, because my daughter has no face on it," answered the mother, readying a stingy tear. "You've seen everything yourself. What makeup? Even if we do the makeup, the father won't look like himself." William had disappeared under very strange circumstances. Lisa couldn't believe that he couldn't control his own car, which he drove even long distances. So when Mother was informed that the man had been found in the woods, with the wreckage of a burned-out car beside him, Lisa didn't believe it at first. "That's right, Father. Are you sure?" she asked, standing next to her mother in the morgue. "I'm not so sure. Let's do a DNA test to be sure." But Vanessa absolutely refused. Every time Lisa tried to talk about it, the woman was flooded with tears. The girl did not understand why her mother buried her husband so quickly. Usually in such situations, wives hope to the last that the husband is alive, and it's as if you don't care, Anna, you mom, as if you immediately resigned yourself to the fact that he was gone. "I don't understand you." "How dare you say that?" Vanessa was indignant. "How can you say that? You don't know what you're doing. It really hurts me to be suspected of something. I just don't want him to be disturbed. If fate was so cruel to him, I really want him to rest in peace." After her father's funeral, the woman wasn't herself. It was as if she'd been frozen. Vanessa withdrew and stopped communicating even with her own daughter. Sometimes she could stay in a closed room for 24 hours, leaving it only to drink a glass of hot tea. Lisa worried about her mother and tried to help her, but it was no use. Only after a few months, Vanessa regained consciousness and returned to painting. "It can't be helped," tearfully she muttered. One evening when her daughter came home from work, "We have to get on with our lives. There's no breadwinner for our family anymore." "Mom, but I'm not idle either," Lisa replied. "I go to work. I get paid a salary." "What do they pay you?" Vanessa grinned. "This pittance barely covers your expenses, let alone mine. And there's no point in sitting around doing nothing. It's even more depressing." Lisa agreed with her mother, so she spent time not only on her work but also on her hobbies, which helped to take her mind off her sad thoughts. There was not a single day that she did not remember about her father. The girl was her father's loving daughter and was sorely missed. And when Lisa wanted to have a heart-to-heart talk with him, she would go to the cemetery where she could sit. After a few hours telling her dad about her life, seeing him on the subway, Lisa had a small but hopeful glimmer of hope. Her suspicions about her mother had grown stronger. Lisa wanted to know the truth and was willing to do absolutely anything for it. When her mother categorically refused to sign the permission for exhumation, the girl went to the cemetery with her. She took a thick envelope where she carefully put aside a few bills every month, and I always knew they'd come in handy. She mentally complimented herself on her thriftiness, she thought. When she found the watchman, Lisa, without further ado, immediately voiced her offer to him. Upon hearing it, the man, his eyes bulging and looking at the girl attentively, asked if you are a healthy girl or are you out of your mind? How can you offer such a thing? Where did such a wild idea come from in your head? But Lisa was not confused, and instead of making excuses and convincing the man that he needed to help her, she took the envelopes out of her pocket and, showing the contents to the side, answered, "I'll give you every last bill if you pick up a shovel tonight and do what I ask." He scratched the back of his head. The man thought about it. "But I need to pay my son's tuition so that he would not be a grief-stricken man like me. And my wife is always complaining that my salary is not enough even from paycheck to paycheck. I have to go to the store with an empty purse, or worse, borrow from the neighbors." He thought to himself and was silent. For a few minutes he said, "Okay, your girl's got it. Come here tonight at 2 a.m. sharp when it's completely dark. I can't do it any other time. You know, there's a lot of people walking around. If anyone sees me, they'll send me to the penitentiary. My wife has a handsome, smart son. He's studying at the institute. I don't need these problems." He was about to reach for the envelope, but Lisa quickly put it back in her pocket. "What are you doing?" "I don't get it." Squinted and asked the watchman, "You'll get the money when you do what I ask you to do." She answered and turned around and walked towards the exit of the cemetery. When did Lisa go out in the evening? Vanessa became suspicious. "Where are you going at night?" she asked, stepping out into the hallway when Lisa had already put on her coat. "It's late for a walk." "To a young man, I'm Mom," calmly answered the girl. "You haven't forgotten I'm an adult, and I should have some kind of personal life. I don't remember you ever going out at night before. But come on, don't do anything stupid to me. You don't have to get married yet. Get up first." Lisa had heard such remarks from her mother many times and had not paid any attention to them for a long time. Exactly at 2 a.m., as they agreed with the watchman, the girl came to the cemetery and woke up the man, who by then in the gatehouse. She went with him to her father's grave. "Money in advance," he exclaimed. "Who knows who you are? I'll do the work, and you'll see what you need. Then you'll come back with your tail between your legs. Are you out of your mind?" Lisa asked in surprise. "Do you really think I can fool you? You have to bury it back, not just dig it up. I'll do it anyway. It's in my best interest. I can imagine what would happen tomorrow if people came to the cemetery and there was an open grave. Not only would they fire me, they'd call the police. So, money up front." "But go ahead." Lisa agreed calmly and handed him the envelope. All the time he was digging, she was thinking about her father. She was very afraid to see the contents of the coffin because it could refute her fears. When the watchman finished digging and lowered himself into the hole to the huge box, the girl's heart sank. She had expected anything but this. "There's no dead man," the watchman grinned. "Look, what a beautiful doll." He pulled out of the coffin some incomprehensible shot pop of enormous size, which made Lisa laugh hysterically. She stood looking at everything that was going on in the pit and laughed out loud. "Hey, you! Come on, settle down," exclaimed the watchman. "Stop laughing, as the mayor will still hear. The people will come running in the middle of the night, and you'll know when we'll go to the zone to soup mittens together." The watchman's words sobered Lisa, and she immediately fell silent. When the man buried the grave back up, Lisa thanked him again. She had mixed feelings, but she knew one thing for sure: her father was alive, and her mother had lied to her. But why and why not? Lisa had to find the answer to that question on her own. And the very next day, without saying anything to her mother, she called a colleague who had helped her find a private detective. "I know what you have." "An acquaintance," she said. As soon as he picked up the phone, "I'm sorry to yank you around on your day off, but I really need to." It's not a phone conversation, but they met at the cafe. Lisa told him about her father. "Wow," the young man exclaimed. "What a creepy, unpleasant story. So what do you want? I don't understand why you think that if there was a doll in the coffin, the father is alive." "Well, what else could it be?" Lisa replied. "Why, if he wasn't really alive, would you make a masquerade funeral? It's just plain stupidity. Oh, do you think so? Yeah, you're probably right about that. Okay, I called the man today, met with him, discussed it, that's all. 2 weeks later, the private investigator got in touch with Lisa and told her there was news. I am very happy ready to meet tonight right after work, the girl replied. When she got the pictures, address, and information about the father, she was shocked. It was definitely him. She was sure of it. When the day off came, Lisa immediately went to the address given by the private investigator and pressed the doorbell twice and waited for an answer. A few minutes later, without asking who it was, a woman opened the door. She looked at Lisa with surprised eyes and clearly did not understand what she was doing here. "Young lady, who are you?" asked the stranger. "I'm looking for my father," Lisa replied. "Here, please take a look at this." She handed the stranger a photograph, but she didn't even look at it, which Lisa thought was very strange. "William," she went on to tell her about her father. "Your address was given to me by a private detective. I came here expecting to see my father here, but as far as I'm concerned, I was wrong." Lisa muttered to a man who heard a noise in the hallway and came to the door. "Lisa, what are you doing here? How did you find me?" Daddy. She threw herself on his neck. "Daddy, why are you here? What happened?" "Mommy said you were dead. I didn't know what to think. We buried you, and here you are. You're alive and well." "How could it be?" The stranger stepped away from the door. The man made an inviting gesture, after which Lisa went into the apartment. "Get undressed," said my friend's father, and went into the kitchen. "But please be quiet. We have a small child sleeping." "Hello? I need to talk to my daughter," he said to the stranger. As if she understood him half-wordedly, she went into the room and closed the door behind her. Lisa did not understand what was going on, but was very glad that she found her father sitting opposite him in the kitchen. She took his hands and put her head down on his palms. The men cried quietly. William stroked Lisa's head, and when she finally calmed down, he looked into her eyes and said, "Lisa, listen to me, please. It's very important to me that your mother doesn't find out anything. She can't know that you didn't find me about this apartment or what you saw here. I can trust you." "Of course you can," Lisa exclaimed. "But I don't understand why. What happened between you and Mom? Why did you supposedly go to the other world? What happened at all?" "Your mother, Lisa, unfortunately, is very jealous and has completely lost control of herself." Sighing, the man said, "I'm very sorry to tell you this, aren't I? But I had to do it this way. I had no other choice. Otherwise, I would have lost the woman I love for my son. I really hope you'll understand and forgive me. You're an adult with your own life. I too wanted to live a little longer and be happy. I had nothing to do with Vanessa for a long time, except for you and common property. I met another woman, I fell in love, but your mother, she just couldn't deal with it. It's very scary." Lisa, when you see the anger-filled eyes of a once close and beloved person, whom you respected and considered your good friend, and the muzzle of a gun pointed at you. Believe me, my girl, it's very scary. "Daddy, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking in riddles? Can you please explain to me what happened when your mom found out about Kelly coming into my life? She just freaked out. She started following us around and stalking us. One time she went into the restaurant where Kelly was eating and poured a glass of juice in her face. Can you imagine, Lisa? It was -20 outside. Imagine in a restaurant where you're having a quiet lunch. Some crazy woman comes in, pours a glass of juice in your face, and you have to walk outside like that. And if Kelly was allergic to citrus, I can't imagine what would happen." "Dad, but every restaurant has a restroom." Lisa argued with her father. "And you can go in there and wash up before you leave. What's that got to do with it?" The father was indignant. "Is this kind of behavior normal? Of course not." The girl agreed with her father. "You go on, tell me." "She didn't even hire a private detective to follow us. She did it on her own. Stalked me and Kelly literally on her heels. Every day, all I had to deal with some extremely unpleasant surprise, like she'd leave the house and get a flat tire or paint on the door. I'm not even gonna give you a voice. What did it say? You're not a little girl. I think you can figure it out. But that's not all. When Vanessa found out that Kelly was pregnant and that I was going to divorce her, she guarded us outside Elena's apartment and, coming within less than a meter of us, pointed the muzzle of a gun at Kelly. I don't know where she got it. Probably bought it on the black market. There's plenty of that stuff there." She was screaming, hysterical. The time was 500 am. Not a single person on the street, but the neighbors aren't deaf. So, asked Lisa, looking at her father in amazement. Had she really fired a shot? And what? And what did the man say? And then he pointed to his leg with his hand. Lisa immediately noticed that her father could only move with a stick, but she decided not to ask why. It didn't seem right to her. Not much could have happened in so much time. She shot you. She was able to do it. Didn't calm the girl down. Vanessa wanted to shoot Kelly to destroy her herself and our future child. But when I realized that she was completely inadequate and actually capable of such a thing, I covered Kelly with me. At that moment, a shot rang out. The bullet hit me and she, dropping the gun, just ran out of there. I asked Kelly to pick up the gun and carry it back to the apartment. We didn't call an ambulance to keep it quiet. I went to a doctor I know. He came right away, took me away, and stashed me in a private clinic. But yes, it's the after effects of the gunshot. The doctor said it would go away with time. After all this, I made a decision that I will not wait for a divorce. I'd rather retire from life, get a new identity, and I'll hide it all with Kelly. Vanessa's not as smart as you. She'd never have thought to hire a private investigator. She doesn't need to know anything about me. The only thing she wants is for Kelly to be gone and for me to go back to her. But that's never going to happen. I shudder to even imagine what would have happened if I hadn't covered it up. Kelly would have died, not only her, but our son as well. I don't know how I would have survived such a tragedy. The man wrapped his arms around his head and Lisa began to comfort him. "Don't worry, Dad," she murmured. "I won't say anything. I promised my mother. But what are you planning to do next?" "We'll go abroad," the man answered. "I just don't see any other way out. I'm not a stupid man. I realize that sooner or later, how will you find me?" She knows I'm lying in that coffin. "Don't wait. How did this happen?" Lisa was surprised. "Why did she bury you in the first place? You're alive, and she knew it." "She didn't know that," answered the father. "I think that's what happened. She ran away because she was afraid she killed me. And then when I contacted a policeman I knew to ask him if there were unidentified bodies, to plant my papers and give the person as me, she calmed down. She didn't bother to look into the details and then simply paid the same policeman or morgue staff to destroy me. Although it wasn't really in the coffin, she put a doll in it. It was closed anyway. Who would have guessed that? You were the only one who thought to dig it up. I think that's how it happened. But at least that's what I would have done. By the way, as William, I really don't exist anymore. My name is Kevin now." 2 months later, William and Kelly, as planned, went abroad, and Lisa made a passport and from time to time flew to visit them. The girl kept her word and did not tell her mother about anything. Vanessa confessed everything to her daughter herself 2 years later when she was diagnosed with oncology, and after each operation, the woman felt that there might come a morning when she would not open her eyes. "Mom, I know everything," Lisa replied after listening to her confession. "I found Father. I just didn't tell you about it." "How could you?" The woman was surprised. "You've grown up so much." "I didn't realize it. It's secretive. I promised him not to talk about anything, and I kept my word. You realize you were wrong, to put it mildly. Daughter, I've done so many things. There is no forgiveness for me. I'm being punished. I'm getting worse day by day. We'll soon be saying goodbye to you." Lisa couldn't hold back her tears. She didn't want to believe that her mother was fading away. Every day she visited the woman in the hospital and prayed that she would get better. Unexpectedly for herself, she made the decision to call her father, who, after listening to the girl, offered to come over. "I don't know if that's appropriate," Lisa replied, and how Kelly would feel about it. "But Mom would really like to apologize to you." "Lisa, look, don't despair, please," said the father. "There are good doctors abroad. Let's take Vanessa there. I'm sure she has a chance to make it. Come, whatever she did, I'd never wished her harm, and I really want her to recover and be able to return to a full life." Vanessa was very afraid that she wouldn't survive another surgery. The doctors had the same fears. But despite this, she accepted her ex-husband's offer, and 2 months later, they went abroad together with Lisa. Another operation was successful, and when Vanessa opened her eyes, she saw her daughter and her ex-husband beside her bed. "William, I wanted to tell you I want to apologize to you," she mumbled. "I had no right to ruin your life. It was so ridiculous of me. I have long since forgiven you for everything, he replied. And a few minutes later, after saying goodbye to his daughter, he left the room and went home to his beloved wife and son. A year later, Vanessa was fully rehabilitated and returned to Russia. Lisa once again believed in a miracle. Once that miracle had helped her to find out that her father was alive and to find him. And now, once again, some inexplicable miracle had pulled her mother from the other side of the world.